Ready, let's go. In the old kingdoms of the great Zimbabwe, down in Maponga in the southern part of South Africa, down in Muchanga, in Tete Islands, Domboshava in Botswana, Khame ruins on the greater part of Zimbabwe, 150 sites later on the southern part of the hinterlands of southern Africa. There stood a kingdom with the arguments are still raging in the white community whether Mapunga is older than Zimbabwe or Zimbabwe is older than Mapunga. And these two kingdoms remain the glorious site of the southern kingdoms. We know in the great north, we have the pyramids of Giza, the pyramids of Sudan, a bit of pyramids of Nigeria, and a bit of Mali, the universities of Timbuktu, and the libraries of Alexander, the temples of Ethiopia. But in the south, the most present visible kingdoms is the kingdoms of the Vendas and the kingdoms of the Embo and the kingdoms of Mapunga, connected to the great Zimbabwe. However, Zimbabwe remains the biggest. The question is which one is the oldest? But some of those technicalities, we leave them for universities tonight. And tonight with me, I'm excited to be introducing to you on this program of Sankofa. Your host is Maponga J. I have two wonderful people. Katuchero Sikita. He was busy teaching me not Sikita. It's Sikita. You know, there's some warmth. But the vendors are the only guys who are as close to English and French here. But they speak in the the only language in Africa that is the thee. You know, what in the proper English thee. You know, and you are going to be having a fun time here with the Katuchero Sikita and my wonderful Makadzi, auntie. These are the king makers. These are the king pins. When you talk Venda, you cannot talk Venda and not talk for Makadzi. And we have with us tonight Makadzi Tshimangadzo Muchanga. Hey, I tried, What are you one in Kukurumu Venda Bova Zimbabwe? Kokwani bo bebane ndi bombetsi. My grandmother on my mother's side is a great Mbetsis, who are the great Lembas, Bomushavi and stuff like that. I want to know as much as possible. Malume, I'm your student today. I will not interrupt you, but when I get excited, I will interject here and there. Introduce us. Who is Ntate? Who is Boba Huruane? Bo Katuchedzo Sikita? Bo Vagai?
Okay. Roribu.
That is thank you in Venda, Roribu.
Okay, Roribu. Cultural Kita. Present day circumstances. I'm part of the greater Venda group, if you can put it like that. Of course, I think a little bit of history might be necessary. Today, when you speak of Venda, the Venda people, you are actually talking about a combination of a number
of tribes,
of different groups
that have come together.
Yeah, that have come together. So present day Venda, you are actually talking about an amalgamation of the various groups. So what is understood in Venda is the oldest group. Some will argue they arrived in Venda from Angola, that is the Wangona. The aboriginal Venda.
Okay.
They were probably
which names in terms of tribes would appear on the older guys?
Yeah, so on average 90% or maybe 95, 96, 97, 98% of anybody who is going to be called Ne.
Ne. Musurwa.
That basically means, yes, owner of. So invariably, any Ne that you come across,
they're the oldest.
There is always either a village,
okay,
a mountain or some place of significance. Yes, so there will be an area called Chitenje.
So Ne is actually a name you give
owner
to
of.
the owner of.
Ne is owner of. So the Wangwana were understandably the oldest
Group.
to have, among the Venda to have arrived there. Some historians will tell you they were even older than probably all the black groups that we have in South Africa. But then, of course, we can always leave that to historians. So after that group, and the Wangwana were the people who gave everything that you have in Venda today. So if you have a river called Njerere,
They named everything.
Muchundu, they named everything.
Pipi.
The rivers, the villages, the birds, the grasses.
The entire language of the Venda is
insects.
Ngona.
Yes.
Wangona.
This, yeah. But then, after that group, after however many years, you had another group. They were Twanamba.
Watwanamba.
And then, if you...
And those Watwanambas, how do we know them in terms of names? What's surname that pops in quickly?
Twanamba, you see, typically, somebody called Muleya. That would be typically a Mutwanamba. Yeah. You have...
I'm coming.
Yeah, you have quite a number of them. But then, after that, in terms of sequencing, the largest group...
That later on followed.
Yeah, the largest, bigger than all this other group, were the Watawatsindi. Yeah, and within that group, you had the Watawatsindi themselves. Presently, you find them mostly they actually now the aristocrats or the royals of the area called Tengwe. Chief Netengwe will be a descendant of this group. Within that group, you also had the Wakwebo. Yeah, they were also like your master circumcisers.
These are the gurus of Hebrew culture.
No, we are still coming to that.
Okay.
And apart from the Wakwebo, you will also have the Wafamadi. Yes. Yes. And not only that, you will also have this group that ended up settling in southern Venda up to Hamamabulo. The Watawatsindi were supposedly or apparently the largest of these groups. We are talking probably 1400 thereabouts. And the last group to settle in what we now know as Venda in South Africa, because you also have the Venda in Zimbabwe in terms of land area. In fact, the whole Venda that you have in Zimbabwe is actually bigger than the Venda you have in terms of area.
That's true.
So the last group to settle were the Vasenzi. And that group, they came together with the Varemba.
The Mbedzis?
The Varemba.
The Lembas?
Yeah, the Varemba. The Mbedzis, yes, they would probably have settled in Venda maybe around the same time or slightly after the Wangona. These are the guys you find in the eastern parts of Venda.
Okay.
The Mbedzi. These are the rainmakers.
Okay.
You wanted rain,
you go to the
you went to the Mbedzi. They were metal.
That's my grandmother, yeah. That's my grandmother right there. Womlambo, Wombedzi, Siziba. Yes, from Berengwa.
They were metal workers. They were rainmakers. And if you are to believe somebody like Schwellners, he was one of these early Lutheran church missionaries. He worked among the Pedi, now the Pedi proper, the guys that you find in the southern part of Limpopo. And he also worked among the Venda. When you look at his writings, he will say Pedi comes from Bezi. Again, that is something that linguists will take us a little bit through, but that's what Schwellners will tell you.
Let me just hold you there. Let's get an introduction from Makadzi here. This is going to be very interesting. Introduce us to yourself, and I want you to take us through your basic dressing here before we can snap up for the first part of the break here. Okay. So, who is Makadzi Tshimangadzo Muchanga?
Okay, Makadzi Tshimangadzo Muchanga. She is using Muchanga, because she's married to another tribe. But Makadzi originally, she's born and bred Hakutama Muduruni. She is a grandchild of Batwanamba. Yet when he touches the Batwanamba, I was like, and he actually touches my grandparents' name. Yes, I was brought up as Muleya. So when I go home, those who know me, Before I got married, they know me as Tshimangadzo Muleya. Yes. Okay. So I am
so
a
Muchanga
grandchild.
is the marriage.
Yes.
Right.
So I am a grandchild of Batwanamba.
You know, there's a song I once learned once. Some of the songs that young ladies would be singing in their initiation schools. I managed to snoop in there. I got hey, don't try me.
You were not supposed to.
But remember, we all breastfeed. We all breastfeed. In my village, they say you can play with your mother's breast, but not with your father's other items. So we can play with our mothers, a bit of their interest. Yes, so take us through the greater Venda dressing. And I can notice you have Makadzi, but instead of putting on this one here, we opted that you put on just for the sake of the colors, just for the cameras. Yes. So take us through in terms of your dressing. Sorry, I'm touching your things, but I'm clean.
Okay.
I'm clean. This one, what does it represent?
This one represents a young woman who is ready to get married, and a young woman who is saying, I'm fertile. I am fertile. I will give you children.
I'm fertile.
Yes.
Yeah, my gents, when you see a Venda woman putting on this one here,
yes,
tried and tested, all tools are working. She can be a good wife. Yeah.
And it's called Chipfuno.
Chipfuno, yes.
Yes.
Wow.
That one is called Chipfuno.
That's why it's rolled like this.
It's rolled like
you see, it's different from this one.
This one is still, it's complex. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe this is where we learn that women are complicated, you know, it's all twisted, and you must untangle this. By the time they have children, it's all straight and clear, you know, but when they are still single, Chipfuno means I am young, I am fertile, and I will give you children. We'll be back right after the break as we begin to unpack the beautiful, and I still want to know also about the satellite dishes, because it looks like technology and internet arrived in Africa way before the
and it landed in
TVs.
Venda.
And it landed in Venda.
Yes.
So by women carrying these things, they actually have satellite dishes, catching signals from the international spiritual space. Don't go away, we're back right after the break.
Hello. The fourth industrial technology era has forcefully changed how every profession has been working for its clients. The world has become smaller than what we used to think. Imagine the ease of talking to a person who is in Australia, China, or Germany while you are in South Africa, as if you're just next door. The ease that globalization and the fourth industrial technology have brought to humanity entail doing business anywhere in the world as long as you have the pepples and the means. It is our expertise as MB Chabangu Incorporated to advise clients immigrating to South Africa on various permits and on opportunities for travelers who intend to sojourn in South Africa for a longer period of time.
Shewarikwe ayé náà ti kéré ju èyí tí a rò lọ. Nítorí náà, ìmọ̀ wa ní ìsìlọ̀ àti òfin àgbáyé ṣe wá ní ọ́fíìsì àkókò lórí àwọn ìṣòwò ilé àti ìgbaniláyé láti gba ìwé ìrìnnà fún iṣẹ́ okòwò.
Ho MB Tshimangadzo Incorporated, re ba eletsi dinotari le basebedisi le di-office tša rena kua Pretoria, Johannesburg le Bloemfontein. MB Tshimangadzo Incorporated e humanega ga bonolo go bareki ba rena. Go humana tlhagiso leseding ka botlalo, re kgopela le re leletše mogala go 012 341 4187 goba le re ngwalele lengwalo tsebile go admin@tshimangadzo.co.za. MB Tshimangadzo Incorporated, mo mathata a humanago tharollo.
Welcome. Great archives, the historians and the custodians of the great African culture. I will not let them go until they take me through the entire Venda African dress, and I have just gathered enough information on the first one here, which she called the name Chipfu. No, Chipfu. No, when you see a young Venda girl putting on this one, she's saying, ready for marriage and equally productive. That's where we stopped. So take us through the entire dress up here of the Venda women from the head. Let's start from the head.
Okay. Tomoratsi.
Tomoratsi, meaning? What Tomoratsi when you translate?
Okay, well, literally, CA will be your eyebrows. So Utomora is basically to remove.
Which is like Shona. Tsiye in Shona
is like that.
So yes. Tomoratsie, the one that removes the eyelashes.
Yes.
That is on the head. Does it have different colors for married, single?
It does have different colors.
I tried to put on one also for the old people. I don't know whether I got it right or wrong, but for starters.
Yeah, you got it right for tonight.
For tonight, yeah.
Yes.
Yay! Okay, Tomoratsie. Okay.
So, what
does it mean?
It simply means, I think I will have to pass it to Mr. Skita to explain.
Well, like during the break, I was kind of like indicating you can actually write a PhD thesis simply on beards.
And Venda dress.
Yeah, and Venda dress. Actually, there is somebody who has actually written a master's thesis about some of these things, and if you can put like that. But Rutomoratsi, I mean, depending on your age, younger ladies, they will wear one which is thin.
That's a set of beads.
That's also, yeah, probably one around here. That's for younger ladies. And again, it's also, for a lack of a better word, signaling. First of all, she's also signaling the fact that she is available. Not necessarily that you need to approach her and whatever, because remember, among the
sometimes they're already called for, though they are still available, but the families have already spoken for them.
Some of them will even be married before they were born. I had a case like that in my family. I will tell you about it maybe outside this or whatever. So she may be around. She may be wearing this.
But not available.
She may be advertising that I'm available, but she's actually not.
She's not available.
She's actually not available like...
You need to get closer to the family and then hear what is there.
Yes.
I hear you. Let's go down. Let's go down. You were still explaining something.
Yeah, I was just saying. So for younger ladies, it will have a single strand and whatever.
Any particular color? Red, blue, green, yellow? Any particular color?
I guess now I think we have a variety of colors, but back in the day you were probably, I think they would have been mostly blue. And if you were a commoner, you will wear, I mean, you know this hierarchy between the commoners and the royals. You know, you'll have this more like, it will be like, what will you call it? it will be different from that worn by commoners.
Okay.
We'll call it Burungwamad. Not everybody will wear that.
Okay.
You see somebody wearing that, you know she's a princess.
So Burungwamad is made out of what?
I don't know what it was made out of.
In my culture, they will use the cow shells, the shell from the sea. Then when you notice, and how do you notice royalty?
Yes.
They will always have a shell, on their forehead or on their crown or something. Once you see that shell, it says that they are royalty. So you're saying in the vendor space, the commoners would
and the
dress up,
royalty.
but you could actually see it on the dress.
Yeah, you will tell even by the material, the kind of material and what have you. But I just wanted to say for older ladies, then they will wear the beadwork around the head will actually be that same that same, and some that they will call chitiba vivo. Literally, you are probably saying, you know, don't be jealous.
Oh, chitiba vivo.
Vivo is jealous.
Kutiba is protecting you from jealousy.
To prevent or what have you.
Kudziva, in Shona, Kudziva is protecting from.
So you see Venda and Shona.
When your ancestors come out, the real ones, they speak Shona.
No, in fact, let
Karanga.
Yeah, let me correct that. Chitiba Vivo will actually be this one that they
will put on the hand.
Yeah, the one that they put. This one will be called Chitendende. Chitendende, yeah, this one I've just.
So Chitiba Vivo
will be this
for
one.
the hand.
Yes.
You put over.
Chitendende is the thicker one for the head.
Yes. So even when you look at what we are wearing over there,
this one, this is Chitiba Vivo.
Not everybody, for example, not everybody will wear that. When somebody sees you wearing that, they are able to tell. This one is either a member of royalty, because commoners, they will also have something around the arm or the hand.
So dressing is for identity. Dressing is for identity.
Yes.
So when you saw mine, you said, here's another royal guru here.
And signaling as well.
we are sending a signal, yeah. I'm fascinated about this. What do you call this in VhaVenda? What do you call this?
The satellite is a show.
The satellites are
The satellite. When you go to the shops in Renga, the satellite.
So even they call them satellites.
Satellite.
Yeah, okay. What is it exactly?
Atiru ndichifuno. Tero pambana nangu yanga age zasho.
So vary according to your ages.
Yes, so hobuna ndi abafumakadzi.
This particular one is for the older ladies. The aunties and the grandmothers.
Yes. Ndizine zvambarwa ngabafumakadzi. So mungasiwane musidzana mufumakadzi sanne o ambara.
An older woman will not put on this kind of she will have to come here.
And even for greenies now, you know, that shell you were talking about. Now, older ladies, greenies will have the same, but then
they'll put a shell
that part.
It will
be like
so for the older ladies, this is actually for the mature ladies in the community. The bigger dishes. Sorry. The younger ladies are more in the straight and the coiled ring, and the younger ladies will have a thinner one with a single beadwork on their face. The older ladies would have this one, and in modern days, even in the older days, then they also find they can close this with this modernity, or they put a shell there to close them. Take me through the dressing itself. And what are these? So these are part actually of
Mukunda.
Mukunda.
Yes.
Now Mukunda in Shona means daughter.
This is a woo.
Yeah, no, I'm just hearing. We immediately said Mukunda. So Mukunda in Shona, proper Shona, actually means the one who is waiting to become a Makadzi.
Okay.
She's a daughter, and there's a royal daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's not born Makadzi. She's wait. Why does she wait? Because
Mukunda. Remember, Makadzi is with experience.
Okay.
You cannot just be Vatete Makadzi and you are 10 years old and you have no advice to give. You need to have gone through Mapungo, Mahungo. You should have gone through some words, and experiences for you to have. Makadzi is a profession. And what Rakhadi, you were in South Africa a few days ago. You saw what Rakhadi did. That's a serious profession. You need to be at a certain level to say, hey.
No, and Makadzis, particularly among the Venda, they are very powerful and very, very important.
Influential.
They are the ones who will tell you, this is our future chief.
They decide.
This one is not.
I want you to go slowly, because many of the European people and these modern kids,
Yes.
they think that Africans have a problem with women. No. I'm just saying this from here. They think that Africans actually we're there to press down women. We don't give women their space. And all this is, they call it toxic masculinity. They call it patriarchy. They've come up with complicated words. But when you say that, something in my head ticks. To actually say in a Venda community, Makadzi
Very important.
is the key
Yes.
to all consultation, whether it be royal, whether it be marriage, whether it be a funeral, whether it be a woman coming into the house or going out of the house. The kingpin of the Venda community, Wagai Makadzi.
Uba ukutodeva makhadzi kazote.
Kiwana babambi steering. Take us through some of the colors and just in passing. I know it's going to be extensive, as the chief was already saying that it could be quite a lot. You could do a PhD, but just in the running, quickly, just taking us through.
All right, this there's a difference from which area you come from.
The tribe. Now the tribes are coming into place now.
Yes.
So
So
also, different regional settings.
Okay.
Yeah.
so we're staying together. It's in the same vendor, but
you're different.
We are different. So you wouldn't know, but they will know immediately when I walk in, and then they look at my dress. They will know which side I'm from.
Which tribe is this one?
Or even basically which area of Venda.
Which area of Venda I come from.
Yes.
So the other area, you see, these ones are my lines are going down. The other dress, the other area, the lines will be going this way.
That way.
So that's how it
Maybe
differentiates.
for the next program, actually, I would love maybe you can bring me 2, 3, or 4
Different
Different
ones. Then actually
Okay.
we can see it.
Yes, we
but
can.
apparently
That's-
in the Venda culture, so you find that the dressing might be exactly the same, but the colors and the style
The shape,
of the lines
The lines,
will tell
yes.
you whether someone is coming from Jerere,
Yes.
Someone
or
is
they're
coming
coming from
PPD,
PPD, or they're coming from
Bufuri.
Panda Maria, from Bufuri, they're coming from Ramugondo, Hakutama, and all those other
Wani,
places.
so it's
Yeah.
So maybe just, you see, the areas you have mentioned, you say Njerere. So regionally, that whole area from, let's say, Karava, and you are going further west, including where she comes from, Hakutama, Sintumure, that area is called Wirafuri.
And
So-
remember, in Zimbabwe, we have the original Njelere, which are the Matopos.
Okay,
That's
yes.
where the rain
Yes.
was being made.
Yes,
to
yes,
date,
yes. Yes.
our grandfathers
Yes.
from the great Zimbabwe, they would collect millet and rapoko and stuff like that and walk up to Njelere,
No, in
which
fact,
is Matopos.
in fact,
and then
if
they
I-
would talk to the mountains, then the rocks,
No,
and it would rain.
Yeah. In fact, if I might put in something, up until probably 1895, when we had this rinderpest disease with cattle, the Mbezis will walk from present-day Venda all the way to Matopos to conduct what you call tewura, to ask for rain.
Your grain is
And then they will go there with cattle and what have you. So that rinderpest incident, I think it was 1895, 1896.
They went up.
That's what put a stop to that, and that migration where people used to go.
Can you put me in touch with these vendor people? I want them to walk back. No, I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
Yeah, of course.
Because if we have textual evidence
Yes.
that we're the pest in the country,
Yes.
we're droughts in the country, and this is what we used to do.
Yes.
And there are still some people like yourselves
Yes.
who have information exactly as to what was happening. Are we saying in the modern day 21st century we actually have lost those footsteps?
Not necessarily.
So we can still have actually an entourage
Not
of the vendor, the Mbedzis and etc. and the vendors, people, the rainmakers, walk back to, and this is the right season, by the way.
Yes.
This is the season where we go and we ask for the rain. And then, well, I don't want. I want you to finish your dressing because
Yeah.
I want to take you on Gomadungundu, on the Gomadungundu. So I want to give you some time just to take us through the dressing, and I will throw it back at you again.
Yeah.
So you can see, because I'm representing the older women, the middle-aged women, I'm wearing a full mwenda.
Mwenda.
Yes. So a young girl will wear what we call it will be. Let me just. Can I stand up?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Somewhere there, don't move very far from my microphone.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
Sorry.
So this is Mwenda. It comes up with the top.
Ndimwenda wophelelawo wamfumakazi. So musizana angase ambare.
So you have two of them, one on top and one at the bottom.
One at the bottom.
All right. Okay.
So the young girls will wear what we call musisi. Yeah, it's just
they're just the front like cover only.
No, it covers, but it's got a front also. So I think next time we will also bring you that to show you the one for the young girls.
And on the legs, you put anything on the legs in terms of
No, we don't.
You don't put anything on the legs?
We don't, unfortunately, because I'm here in Johannesburg, I don't have Bukunda, Hamidenjeni. I should have.
They are also similar to this?
Yes,
you put them
but specially made for Midenjeni.
When we come back after the break, we'll ask Huruane to take us through the famous story of the Venda people hitting the drum, crossing the rivers of Congo, Zambezi, coming down to Southern Africa. And there's a famous story of Ngomadungundu, the drum that won the battles and overcame all other tribes. And to date, if you listen very carefully in certain seasons in the Venda tribes, you can still hear the sound of the drum in the night as they are bidding farewell to the stars of the night and the crickets of the evening. Don't go away. We'll be back right after the break.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in fourth industrial revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
instrument that I'm playing right here is actually common amongst the great Venda tribes and the great Shona Karanga tribes. So when you hear the mbira dzabadzimu, you hear the drum, you have a complicated dance there. You don't try that if you have not done proper calisthenics. You break your legs because the drum is going that way and the women are moving the other way and their legs are flying to the other side and etc. They look at you like they're coming and they drop. Hey man, you should take some time. I'm actually not very happy with some of this commercialized tourism that we have, where people fly into Johannesburg and they say, "No, I was in South Africa and I have not gone to meet the real people and experience the real culture of the people." And I'm happy we've gone through, I know it's not exhaustive, but we've gone through the greater space of the women's dress here. I'll come back a little bit on you in terms of the initiation and the girl passages and rites, but we want to pick up some history from the chief here. You are still telling us about the Ne surname, depicting a particular place and etc. And you talked about the three groups that came in, and I want to pin in on the famous Venda drum that has actually captured that entire history. And while you're on that also, I would want, before the end of the show, that we can also move into explaining how and what causes the entire world actually to marvel that Vendas are actually the original Hebrews of Africa. Even by blood and genealogy and genetics, it has been proved that there's more Hebrew blood in the Vendas than there is Hebrew blood amongst the white people, those white people in Jerusalem. So, and that research has baffled the world. So, but I'm just running ahead. Take us through, I want just to hear the beautiful story of the journey. The journey from Congo, the journey from Angola, the journey from Embo, the journey of Angona.
Well, at least what we understand now, lately, as I was indicating, the first group that we understand settled here, the Wangona, the ones who named everything.
And very close to the Ngonis.
Okay.
Wangoni,
yes. Or even Bakoni, the group that you find in parts of around Petersburg area, Pulukwani. Then Wangona, Batwanamba, Batabatsindi. Now the last group to settle were the Basenzi, and together with the Basenzi, you had Baremba. These people have been moving together.
Baremba is the same as Manyai.
Baremba are like the Jews, the ones that
those are the Lembas.
The Lemba.
They came on the last group.
Yeah, they were the last. We are talking about 1600 to 1650. They were the last group to settle in present-day Venda. And indeed, just to go back a little bit, the one brother, the older brother who ended up in Venda, Dimbanyik. They named him that because he refused to lead the nation. And his younger brother, Lewanika, is the guy who ended up settling in Barotse land, the Lozis in Zambia.
Okay.
You look at even a typical descendant of
the Lewanikas, the Zambians.
The Lewanikas.
The Lozis.
Yes, the Lozis.
In here they are Roji.
Yeah.
In Zimbabwe they are Roji. In Zambia they are Lozis.
Yeah, the descendants of the Ramabranas, the Chivasas, they will tell you Riva Roji.
Baruji.
In Zambia, they will say Lozi, I guess, depending on the language that you. But anyway, this last group is the group that came with this drum.
The totem of the Venda Lozis. Are they the monkeys, the lions, the buffaloes, or they're the?
Well, at least
because they say they are the when they're in Zimbabwe. No, let me hear you first.
Yeah. Well, at least among the Basenzi is this stock that gives you Ramabran.
But what is their totem?
It will differ, but it is mostly an elephant trunk.
The tusk.
They will say Rimasingo. Basically the trunk. The elephant trunk and whatever. So, in fact, in present day Venda now, the royalty, you basically have three senior royal houses. The Ramabrana, the Chivase, and the Mpapuris. All these
Chief Chivase was my friend. The one was a pastor. Okay. From Venda.
These guys are all members of they are all Vasenzi. So them and the Varemba, they were together, because you present day Venda, you won't find a Venda royal household, particularly the Vasenzi one, without the VhaVenda, they are like they are fixers and they are ministers and what have you and what have you. With time, we can go back into some of the things that they do that other people cannot do. But these are the people who came with the drum. Because when they settled in Venda, they found other groups already there.
So the drum is called Ngomadungundu.
Yeah, they called it Ngomarungundu.
Ngomarungundu.
Yes, and that is the drum which apparently it was not supposed to touch the ground. Whether it was during the day, whether it was at night, you always had to carry it or supporting it with your shoulders. It wasn't supposed to touch the ground. It touches the ground, then it will lose its power and whatever. So this is basically the drum that when it was sounded, it sent shivers down the spines of these groups that were already there. Whether it was the Wangona, Watawasindi.
No, but apparently the drum fought the battles.
And
the
what
drum caused rain and bees and it caused wind and other things. And actually the drum, the music was the weapon for war. And for me, that's quite exciting from a biblical perspective.
No, actually,
where you hear that actually Joshua walked around the city playing music and the city came falling down. And to come to African space and find there is actually the concept of music that fought war. That kind of tickles me a little bit.
And indeed, you hear of instances where one time when maybe somebody unfortunately happened to let it fall to the ground, then the Masenzi actually lost
the battle.
One battle.
Because the drum fell. So when you sleep at night, you must hang it on a tree or something.
Well, yeah, you will have to hang it on the tree. During the day, you will have to have people carrying it. And according to the traditions of the Masenzi and the VhaVenda, it was the VhaVenda who were carrying this, which obviously will tell you these people would have been together for the longest of time, because typically
to have that marriage,
you can't have a stranger carrying my sacred artifacts. And
I went to Venda. I bought myself I bought one, a big one. I think I spent about 15,000 on it. Huge one. That is 4 handles.
Who made it for you?
There's a priest up on the mountains. You get into Mukhondo, right up on the mountain, Sibasa. You drive about 40 km, then you turn right. Right up in the mountains there, towards the end of the bush in the midst of nowhere, there's an old man who lives there. And I hunted for him until I got him. I said I wanted the original menka of Ngomadungu. So he made me a walking stick that has a hand on it, and he sold me that big drum, and they sold me Basadzi, also the smaller one. So there are 2 of them actually, the one for the hand and the big one. I have them.
But at least in terms of the original Ngomarungundu, right now,
we don't know where it is.
Nobody really knows where it is. People will tell you a whole lot of things. But if you go to the VhaVenda group, particularly who's this person, Nechendeur, not Nechendeur, I'll remember him. They were the custodians
of the drum.
And then, of course, some of these things are supposedly secretive, so you are not supposed to know what happened. But there are some researchers who will tell you, we trace it.
Just hold it right there when you come back after the break. I think we'll want to get back. This is getting meaty for me. We're not even started, guys. I wanted to get us into the diet. I wanted us to get into the traditions, the cultures, the rituals, and the rites. I think it only mentions that I would need to bring them back on another show so then we can go into a more in-depth study. Don't go away. Here with me on the show today are the representative of the greater Venda tribes. These are my grandmothers. When I was young, they would sing, and they were singing and they wanted to take me for circumcision. These Shanganis, and they were saying my mother is a Munyai, and Munyai does not want me to be circumcised. So there was a song so I grew up actually scared of this. But anyway, we'll come back after the break as we're discussing African culture here.
Actually, among
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in 4th Industrial Revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
For the journey Maponga J here, you can tell I'm sitting in, when I'm next to my aunt here, next to my uncle, I'm a Makadzi. I can roll, I can twist, I can turn. I'm home today. I can feel my umbilical cord breathing. You know, these are the ones who birthed my mother from the greater Mbedzi tribes. You were explaining to me about the greater culture of the Venda, the circumcision schools, and how that affects royalty and the story of Makado. Can you take us through bits and pieces of that? No. And then I'll come to you also. In about 3 minutes, you do the ladies, you do the men, and then we can conclude.
Just briefly, these older groups, they had their own rites of passage. Like there was a Vutuka.
Vutuka.
Yes, there was Vutuka. And then you had these other groups that would circumcise young men. And the royalty in Venda right now, they are not supposed to undergo male circumcision. The royalty. You do that, you disqualify yourself from, assuming leadership if it was supposed to, you were supposed to be the one to lead.
So circumcision is for commoners.
And indeed. And in some instances, if you happen to be circumcised, remember the royalty, they have their own private cemetery. They won't bury you there on account of that. But the Ramabranas turned it upside down. When Makado went to a circumcision school led by the Wakwebo, he goes there, he's circumcised, he comes back. Now he has a lot of people, particularly the commoners, who are supporting him. Remember, this thing is meant for the, So you now had a situation where that was now integrated
into the culture.
Within the culture, and it was actually the chief
who was not driving
it. So where she's coming from, Hakutama. Kutama was one of Makado's sons.
We've actually placed this book called Kutama Mission.
Yes, but Kutama, the area she's coming from, Kutama was one of Makado's sons. His eldest son was Sintumure. Yeah, his eldest son was Mpepo.
But Sintumure in Shona means a young baby.
Okay, so this one was called Sintumure. This story, remember, a name is usually accompanied by a praise song. And the name, you are given a name on account of so many things. The circumstances, was there a death?
Any song that comes to your mind that you remember quickly, one of your ancient traditional songs. Just a few words, few lines, 1 or 2 lines.
I just wanted to give you an example. There's an area in Venda called Hachikunda Marema. It was called Mpumburuni before. It was called Chikunda Marema because there was this group, the Soto groups, who came from present day, around Polokwane. And they used to be hired by a lot of chiefs who could not carry the day for themselves. So the Malema, they come to Mpumburuni to fight a king called Kangar. He defeated them and he calls himself Nini Chikunda Marema. So when we were growing up, grade A, grade 1 or whatever, we used to sing a song heralding that victory. Something like, Iwe Nkukuwe. Chinoni changu, koromozia tu, chinoni changu, zituwa na wapio, chinoni changu, zituwa na marema, chinoni changu, marema majavatu, chinoni changu, zerere lori mandira. And that song was actually, because the marema...
Now I wish Julius Malema, you must be listening to this here. Part of your history, the madam, I know our time is running out. Take us through maybe the quick this is not fair. Because I wanted us maybe to look deeply into the rituals of the rites of passage for the young ladies in the Venda culture. So you don't just wake up in the morning and you put on this. It must be put on you.
No,
it must be a graduation of some sort.
Yes, so you go, as they have periods for circumcision for the boys. So there's a period for the girls to go. Where I come from, Hakutama, we call it Mudimsebetu. Basizana bayamsebetu. Basizana batuku. So when they've graduated, those now.
What happens there, Msebetu?
It's deep secret.
Talk about it.
But in general, what goes there? It's like, okay, I'm going to a private school. But at least you can just say in brief, with the context of they are going there, they're being taught maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the reason. Maybe give us the reason. Okay, why do you take women to these schools?
Remember, the age that goes there, it's the age that are very close to seeing their periods.
Okay.
So they are taught how to take care of themselves.
Okay.
There.
All right.
But it's very secretive. I cannot go into deep. And then those who went there, they come back with a mark. So you will know.
A tattoo.
When we play, we will know that you didn't go because you don't have.
Where do they write it? On the legs?
On our thigh, yes.
So even when a man looks at you and he sees that sign,
he knows
says,
that
she is from the school.
Yes, you went through.
The secret is out of the bag.
See, it's very
when you find a Venda woman, please, before you do anything and make children, double check for the secret if she has been to school. Yeah, I got that one. I got it. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. Wow. So you train. They get trained on how to basic hygiene and how to run families also.
Yes.
And the basic.
No, we're not even family part.
Not family. It's basic on the introduction.
So that's where they graduate, and then now they will go. They will be able, when they grow up, then that's where they will go and.
So there's another session again. Oh, okay. So they have
There are 3 others after that one.
The 3 sessions.
Domba is the last one. You have
Take us the first one. You call it. The first one you call it. Dimsebet. This is for the girls just before they start their periods. They go and be trained on basic issues of hygiene. Then next one.
Chikanda. Yeah,
Busha, and then with the other.
Busha is now basic training into adolescence and other spaces. Then the third one. Chikanda now preparing you for marriage.
Preparing you for Domba.
Yeah.
Domba ndilo
Domba. So there are 4.
Domba ndilo never wana rohaki.
Python dance.
The Python dance.
That you are talking
now
about.
Take me through the Python dance. This is now when the ladies now are, we are the snakes now. We are the snakes. We watching you. They say a snake is the only animal that doesn't sleep. Even if it's sleeping, its eyes are wide open. And the Domba.
Yes.
Beautiful dance. I saw that, one of these famous South African dances. What they call it?
Not
Chikonda, man. It was on one of these South African dances that they brought up to the UK when I was there. Okay. And they actually, in one of the dances there, they did the snake dance.
The dome.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Wow. Any nice dishes in Venda? Foodstuffs? What are one of your favorite meals there?
A lot.
My favorite will be Chizimba.
Chizimba.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the Xhosa and the Zulus, I think they call it umngqushu.
Umngqushu.
Yes.
Chizimba.
Chizimba. And the Chizimba achibikwa ngachitofu cha
You don't cook your Chizimba on electricity. You must have put it on the fire. Because when you touch it, you must smell the smoke in the food. Then you know it's. And for you, Malume, what do you?
Chizimba is probably the most nutritious meal in one sitting. Because it will have proteins, it will have starch, it will have virtually, I mean,
it's a summary.
It's sad when you think about the poverty we have today vis-a-vis what used to happen back then, and people were growing all these things. Right now.
One thing I love about Venda, you never hear that there's a Venda child who has stolen avocados. Or stolen mangoes. I mean, this might sound very, very small, but to me it's big.
Yes.
Because every home
has
avocado, mango, pawpaw,
and at the end of the day, you reduce.
It's different. We even have different types of avocados and mangoes.
I was in Chiauru there. I could see all the various types.
Yes, so there's different. So if you have a tree, you might have a different from one that I have. So you will come to my house
and we share.
Yeah, then we do exchange.
I want us to take out this show with another song, or we can do the same one again as we celebrate. Thank you very much. It's not the last time that I invite you here. Next show is me and you, fully dressed up in Venda clothes and Venda. And in Shona, by the way, I kept this one for last. Shona, Venda. Come where Venda comes from. If you go to the rural areas where they ask you about the Venda, they say the Venda people are those of the lice. No, the lice, the lice. So Venda. Venda actually means a tribe that lived across the Limpopo, and they were famous for having lice.
that is debatable. That is debatable. But then, of course, don't forget, you are talking about different groups.
Yeah.
Yes.
So by the time, when they crossed over Zimbabwe, they say, hey, the Venda, you know, and they ended up as Venda people. Guys, there's no better time for us on the African continent just to be calling the real people who are telling us real conversations. We're talking about our own stories as Africans. It's one thing when they are talking about us. It's another thing when we are talking to ourselves and consolidating all this information together. If you're out there and you know some basic information about your culture or traditions that are happening in your culture and you want to have some time to come, please come forward. I don't appreciate some of your comments on my pages where some of you walk up there and you begin to criticize me for what I'm doing. Don't criticize. Come forward. Bring what you have. There's a table here. We can put an extra chair for you and you can talk about it. So you're Xhosa, you're Hlubi, you're wherever you are, you're talking about Bungane, you're talking about Shaka, you're talking about Zulu. We just want to present all those stories as they are. Here we are today with a great Venda space, and I'm saying our language says Venda, and now when other tribes are calling us Makwerekwere, we get angry, but we also call others Venda, and then the Veles call Matevele, the Tswanas, and this one called Masili, and we all do all these tribal little mischiefs that we are talking to each other. But I'm excited, and I want to thank you very much for spending this moment with me, and me, your great host on your show, Sankofa, Maponga, Jichi Garamboko, Garamashamba, Uda na vana vevanji mutambo uri paro wari tiswana chigara makwe matanda ora chibwe chitedza chinotedza vari kure vari pedo vanotamba nacho vachere mangora navapfuri vayo Remit yasvosve chiramba kusesera mupona ngokuba vane mazvakumagaro chirana vana vevanji akashawa miti unokwira munhu Remit yasvosve mukanya unopemberera namachira machena. Until you see again, stay away from trouble. Don't do what I wouldn't do. If you decide to do it better.